Hey, well, people who love to read, if you're turning in and listening to me, then you definitely love to read. So, this is my Aunt Effie, and this is where we review books. I review books after I finish them and let you know what I think about them and tell you a little bit about them. So, the book that I'm going to be telling you about today is called Lady Tan's Circle of Women. It was a very, very beautiful book, but it was not an easy read. So Lady Tan's Circle of Women was written by a woman named Lisa C. Simon & Schuster published this book and it was copyrighted in 2023. So this is 2024 now. So it's not brand new, but it's not very old either, because I do read books that are pretty old sometimes. Okay, so where did I get this book? This book came to me from a friend of mine named Nikki. And Nikki just gave me the book and said, read this. And I thought she gave it to me because she read it and really liked it. She said she wanted to know what I think. And so I figured that after I read it, we would talk about the book. And maybe she would even be able to come on to this book review and we could review it together. But when I finished it, she said, oh no, I haven't read the book. I just didn't have time to read it, so I gave it to you. Okay, because the thing is that this is not the kind of a book that I would normally choose on my own. It's, like I said, it's beautiful, but it was very tough to read. It was set in China in the 1400s, and China in the 1400s was not a very good time for women. And I am quite a bit of a feminist, and so I don't enjoy seeing situations where women are suffering and cast aside and damaged and used, and these things are just very, very difficult for me. So the protagonist is named Lady Tan. She ended up living to a very old age. So we get to see the changes that China goes through Lady Tan's eyes. She lives through several different dynasties. We see about 100 years of dynasty changes because she lives into her early hundreds, and the book takes us all the way through. So unusual for the time period, Lady Tan becomes educated. This was very weird for a woman because she was wealthy and an educated woman was considered ugly. But when her mother dies, she goes to her grandmother and grandfather, and they recognize how intelligent she is and offer her an education. Well, she ends up with her grandparents because when she's little, her father ends up working away from the area where she and her mother and that household is located. So her father is gone quite a bit, and the mother becomes very unhappy, and she stops taking good care of herself, even though she's quite young still and very beautiful. But because of the foot binding, you have to take extremely good care of your feet, or there are complications and you die. And so she died from complications of the foot binding. While her father is away, he takes a concubine. He has a concubine there at the house, but he also takes another concubine. That's just what men did during that time period. It wasn't even unexpected or anything. Because if there's wealth, then that's what wealthy men did. So her father is living far away. His wife dies, and the little girl, I think she's about 5 years old, maybe 8 years old. I think 5. And the father has her sent to his parents. So she travels quite a distance with a concubine that lives there. And the concubine is very, very good to her. And the concubine is really hoping that she'll get chosen as the wife, because that would make her an awful lot safer. And she does love the man. And she travels to the new community, to the new household where the grandparents live. She stays on, the concubine does, and the little girl, who is Lady Tan, she is with the grandparents, and the grandparents are both physicians. Now, they recognize how smart this little girl is, so they ask her if she'd like to be educated either as a regular physician or as a physician just for women. Grandfather is a regular physician. Grandmother is a physician just for women. Now, if she chose to become a physician that is normal, she would never be able to practice, because a woman could never practice. And in the families, a regular physician might come to see some of the women that live in the family household, but they never see the woman without any clothes on or anything, so they can't really help them that much. There's always a screen between them, and they ask questions of people that are there in attendance of the woman. You know, does it look like this? Does it feel like this? Tell me how it hurts. You know, but there's no visual. It's just a screen. If the little girl chooses to become a physician for women, then she would be able to help care for and heal the women in the household in which she lives. So that's what she chooses, and the grandmother educates her in this manner. So I think the little girl is somewhere between 8 and 11 when at 8 years old, she is married. All the money is paid. She doesn't leave, but the arrangements are made with another person for her to marry. So money is paid, arrangements are made, everything's set up, but she doesn't go until she's like 11, 12. She's young. So she has quite a few years where she is in training as a physician. We learn all about foot binding because, of course, this little girl has her feet bound. And even if you're not wealthy, a female will have her feet bound in case she can be sold as a concubine. But if you don't have your feet bound, you can never be a concubine. You can never be a wifey to a wealthy person, and you can never be a concubine to a wealthy person. Now, being a concubine does make your life better. The foot binding is, of course, very painful because as the feet grow, the bones not only bend but break, and it's very painful. But it is a way of life, and they do it because they want to live, and the parents do it because they want the child to live. If you don't get your feet bound, then you are a worker. And Lady Tan, actually has a childhood friend who is friends with her all of her life, and there is a lot of very interesting drama that happens around that as the years go by. The book does a wonderful job of showing the relationships between the women. So we enter this world of child brides, bound feet, and multiple wives, and so much more. The book is just extremely rich. So Tan Yuxian, and I'm probably not saying the name correctly, Yuxican, Yuxian, the arranged marriage that she is in, when she goes there at the tender age of around 12, she becomes under the care of her mother-in-law, who is very mean and bitter and sets up situations that are very harmful to this young woman. She doesn't want her to practice medicine. She doesn't want this childhood friends to visit. She doesn't want her interacting with other members. Because she is a lady, it wouldn't be appropriate for her to be communicating and interacting with concubines. So her world is very small. She's very isolated, and it shows how people in that time period found ways to reach out and help each other. At least they did in this book. And she ends up with a little bit better life, and as the years go by, it does get better, and she ends up practicing and even helping. In the end, she's even able to help and cure the mother-in-law of a long time disorder, which I won't tell you about, but it's quite exciting and involves a parasite that likes to drink. Anyway, the book is wonderful. I definitely recommend it. It isn't a happy book, but it's very educational, very interesting, beautifully written. I mean, Lisa C. is a very good writer. I'll definitely read more books by her. So that's all I'll say about this book. I hope you enjoyed the review. And this is my Aunt Effie saying, see you next time.